Yes, hello again. Welcome to another round in the simulator controller coaching sessions. Today we will once again revisit strategy simulation and the working of strategy workbench. That's because in the last release this tool learned a couple of new tricks, and it's worth to demonstrate them because they are not so easy to understand at the beginning. It might be. So let's start the tool. And as always, here, welcome at the Discord. And if you have questions, please feel free to jump in and help me to get more to the detail where I'm not as clear as possible. Okay, I prepared some examples which introduce the new features step by step with growing amount of complexity, to say it this way. We will start with an easy one, a 60-minute race with one mandatory pit stop where refuel is required. So when you start the strategy workbench, as a short recap for those of you who are seeing this tool for the first time, you will have two areas in this tool. The upper area will give you access to all the data which has been recorded in your previous sessions with the given car at the given track. You can take a look at the telemetry data, you can look at the tire pressure data, you can choose which data you want to have to be displayed here. So the upper area is for, let's say it, kind of reporting of your data you have. The lower area then allows you to define your preferences and all the settings and rules for the strategy you are planning for your next race. And all the stuff you can input here is organized in tabs. The first one lets you input the rules and settings for the given race. The next one allows you to enter some settings for pit stop handling and service requirements, how long a service would take. For example, the tire service, changing 4 tires on the car will take 30 seconds, and so on. This stuff is used to run the internal calculations of the strategy workbench. This tab here, we will see it later on in one of the examples, lets you set fixed pit stops at a given lap with a given amount of refuel as anchor points for your strategy if you want it. Normally not needed because the strategy workbench will create a strategy based on the telemetry data as best as possible. Here you can enter a number of drivers. For example, if you're planning a strategy for a team race for example here, Clive Bixby will the driver for the second stint, and Matthias Pritsche for the third, and so on. But we won't use it here in the demonstration. In this tab, you can create a kind of weather forecast, if you know it. In a simulation like ACC, weather development is random, so it won't be of much help to predict it in the strategy simulation. But for example, if you're using R factor 2, the points in time where the weather changes and how it will change might be fixed, because you can use a kind of plan for the weather in this simulation. In the next step, you run the simulation. This step will be the area we will be working in the following examples most of the time, and the last one will give you an overview of some of the data of the strategy. Okay, let's start with a very easy example. As said, we have a 60-minute race. We have a formation lap, no post-race lap. We have one required pit stop, and refueling is required. Tire change is optional. We have no pit stop window, so any pit stop at any time is always possible. We will see pit stop windows in a later example. When you now go to the simulation tab, you can say with how much fuel you want to start your race. The first one is, let me initialize from the database, is to fill it up to the max. Might not be the best idea if we have one required pit stop in a 1 hour race, but let's do it this way. And then you can click on simulate and you will get a strategy for this type of settings. As you can see, okay, we have one required pit stop. There is a little splash and dash refueling right in the middle of the race. This is definitely not the best strategy for this race, so let's try a different thing. We set the initial fuel to 0 and let the optimizer play with the initial fuel. We move it completely to the right, which means that the optimizer for the strategy might use either 0 fuel, as we have entered, or the maximum amount the car could take at the fuel capacity for the fuel capacity. Now we run again a simulation, and we will get a reasonable strategy for this race. A pit stop right in the middle. The car weight is very much distributed between both two stints with a medium level of fuel. This kind of strategy might run well, but let's try a different one. We go back with the optimizer and refuel up to 110 at the beginning. Let's run the simulation once again. And now we move the slider here for the first stint to the right, which gives us a splash and dash strategy, something very well known for this type of race, where we at the end of the session come in for very short pit stops, so we will save a lot of time at the pit by refueling only a few liters. You can move the slider also to the left here, which will create the reverse strategy. So we start with the car at almost fuel tank, but we come in after a couple of laps and hope for an undercut because we will have fresh air, we will have no traffic in front of us, and so on. So what kind of strategy might be better depends heavily on the track, on your opponents and stuff like that. But as you can see, you can play with the settings so that you will get the strategy which is most likely suited for your win. If you don't do this, as said, the standard might be here, let the simulation decide. It will create a strategy where the theoretical race time is optimized, and this is the case when your car weight is as low as possible. But this does not take into account traffic and stuff like that. Any questions for this example? Seems not, so I will move on. Let's do another one, also at Bathurst. We will run a 144-minute race. We have no pit stop rules at all. And let's see what the simulation will come up with. Okay, 2 pit stops. It will run a short early stint and then 2 normal stints. Whether with this will look like in your strategy workbench the same, it is not necessary because it depends on the data, which is in your database, lap times, tire wear, and so on. And this is different for every driver. But this is the strategy the strategy workbench will recommend for me. But we can also play here as well. For example, we can start with a fuel tank. Let's see what this will do. Okay, a long first stint as expected and 2 shorter stints at the end. And now we move the slider for the last stint to the right. And yeah, we will have 2 full stints and 1 shorter one, which might be helpful if you want to catch up some opponents at the end of the race. We can also try to play with the tire life, the tire usage, so allow for longer stints and run a lower map to extend the stint length to, but we will never get to a one-stop strategy for a 144-minute race, so it's a compromise every time. Okay, this is this example. Okay, then the next one, a 90-minute race, also here at Bathurst. We will have 2 required pit stops with required tire change, and we will have a pit stop window of 80 minutes, so from 5 to 85. And let's see what the system will come up with. We will once again let the simulation decide with how much fuel we want to start. And it's almost the same which has been recommended before. And also here we can play with the sliders to create different stint length distribution. We can also, yes, set the amount of fuel we want to start with to come up with a different kind of strategy. But in the end, we will have always 2 stops with 2 tire changes, and the system knows because we have the service simultaneously for refueling and tire change. Therefore, the system knows that it's always beneficial to refuel while the tires are changed, because this does not need any additional time. So, but there are ways to even customize that. We will see it in a later example. Any questions so far? This is not the case, looks like, so let's move on. Now we want to go to Barcelona and want to run a 6-hour race. Typical in this race is that there are no pit stop rules. They are long enough to have enough pit stops for every team. So, but sometimes you have a stint timer, but we won't use this here. First, the standard solution, as always. Okay. Also here, preferred short first stint. We won't do this. We want to take a normal stint at the beginning. But now we have 2 shorter stints at the end. And now we have several different options. We can, for example, use the last stint slider again to make the 5th stint longer and the last one shorter. But as we can see here that it might be beneficial to level the car weight over all stints. So We don't want to refuel the car up to the max at the first stints, but we want to refuel the car to, let's say, 100 liter at each and every stint, so that the car weight is at the same level for each stint. I would never recommend to do this in a real endurance race where weather changes are probable. But if you know that it will be full dry and you won't have any accidents, who have accidents in an endurance race, I don't know. But if you won't have any accidents, it might be a good strategy to have 5 equal stints to level, yeah, to improve the car performance in terms of weight. So for this, the new optimization slider refuel here is the tool of choice. With this slider, you can decrease the amount of fuel added at each stint. If you move it completely to the right, you allow the optimizer to skip up to 50% of the fuel which would normally be added for the stint. That's way too much, but let's see what happens if we use this one here. Okay, it gets better. We can see also we can reduce the initial fuel a little bit. And now we have almost 5 identical stints. The last one here, okay, the reserve fuel is a little bit too high, so we lower it. And let's see what happens. Okay, looks fine. So it's way better now. The car weight is reduced by almost 20 kilos per stint, which might be, yeah, which might increase the performance a bit. Okay, so next example. We now will run the same race, a 6-hour race, but only with 4 tire sets available for dry tires. This is a big problem for Barcelona because Barcelona is eating tires, especially at the rear left tire. But let's see what happens. Reset the sliders here. First, go to the standard example. Okay, now we can see we have here at the tire change column of the strategy, we can see which tire set the strategy will use. And what it's happening here, it will once again go for a short first stint. Okay, tire life, 31 laps left. Then we will have two normal stints, no, 3 normal stints. The fourth stint will reuse the tire set number 1. The tire life at the beginning is 31. Okay, not so bad. So we will come out at the end with a set of used tires which has been run, let's say, 48, 49 laps. But the last stint is still a problem. We start with a completely worn tire and have to run a kind of double stint here. That's not good, but if you only have 4 tires, yeah, that's the thing. It is as it is. Okay, but let's play a little bit with the fuel here. We start the first stint with 80 liters. And this looks better in a way because the last stint is shorter now. And we can reuse this partly worn tire quite good for the second to last stint. And we can, for example, level them out a bit. so that the last stint with a completely worn tire is as short as possible. You have to play with the sliders until you get the most or the best strategy in this situation. Um, an information for experts, when you recalculate the strategy with a race center during a team race or in a solo race with a race strategist in autonomous mode, the tire life of the tires of the session you are running currently is well known to the strategy simulation. So everything you will see here will also happen when you're already on the track and tires has been used, some stints have been run, and the strategy is recalculated live.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, when you have the autonomous mode running, um, in some stints you may use your tires harder than others. Is there a difference then, or
Um,
does it only count laps?
The problem here is that most simulations do not give you information about tire wear. And even if they have the information, some of them only provide them after you have dismounted the tires. So at the moment, I only use the number of laps you have driven, but not really precise tire wear information. Uh, if we have improvements in the data integration for the different sims, I can change that for sure. But at the moment, it is this way.
Because I know that I think ACC and iRacing provided when you take off the tires,
Yes,
right?
that's right. But
So it could be used then, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, it could be used. iRacing, I don't know very well. For ACC, I can say that that this information does only work in team races. If you're running a solo race, the data is not written to the hard disk. It's a kind of debug information. You find this information in the debug folder in ACC. I pass it and I display the information in the race center in team races, but I don't know if it is really precise. It's a hint.
Okay,
Okay,
because
anyway, it's a
yeah,
good thing, and if I will be able to do it, let's say in a reasonable manner, I will do it.
yeah, okay. I just know that if you look at AMS2 and now Le Mans Ultimate, I think they display it live. I don't know if it's known in the backend, but they should be, well, they display the precise information live. So
Yeah, that's possible. Some information which is displayed in the user interface is not available all the time, also in the data API. But let me check it, and you know the backlog of new features is always long, so it will come anywhere in the future. I think, but at the moment this is not used in strategy simulation.
oh no, just so I know, and it was more information request than a feature request. But of course, if we
Yeah,
can have it, it would be nice.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So let's. Any more questions regarding tire set handling? No, seems not. So then let's move on. Now we will go back to a 144-minute race at Barcelona. Also, 2 stops refueling is required. Tire change is optional. Here we have to set unlimited tires back again. And now we will do something weird. Move it here to 2. Okay, -2. There is no 0 for any reason. So we will start with 120 liters. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. And run the simulation. And now we want to skip the tire change here. We want to overuse the tires. There are different ways to do this, so that we only change the tires once for the 144 minutes. There are several ways to do this. We can, for example, increase the tire life here, not 400. Let's say 50. Maybe this works already. No, it won't. We can increase the tire usage so that the simulation varies the tire life, but that won't do the job also. So we will now use the new feature of so-called fixed pit stops. What we'll do now is here to tell the simulation, okay, whatever you come up with, we don't want you to change the tire here at the second pit stop. And we do this by, first we have to enable this feature. I have a disclaimer warning here, so you must accept that you can create invalid strategies with this feature, but okay, leave me alone, I know what I'm doing. So we say yes here. We create a pit stop number 2. At pit stop number 2, it will be in lap 57. We will have a refueling of, let's say, 58 liters. So we repeat what the strategy simulation already have come up with, but we won't do a tire change. We leave it at no tire change. And now we run the simulation again. And here's the strategy. We will overuse the tire at the second stint. We can do the same with the first stint, obviously, but we have done it here for the second stint. We have a two-stop strategy as required with refueling, but we only change tires once for this race.
What happens when you now set it to 50 laps tire usage? Does the first pit stop move up, or is it fuel limited? No, it's not fuel limited.
No, it's not fuel limited. That's something which is currently the case with the strategy simulation. If you have a pit stop requirement, it will try to distribute the pit stops as evenly as possible. That is it at the moment. I will even vary it in the future, but I think there will nothing happen if we
It's
increase.
not evenly distributed now. It's not in the middle. No.
Okay, we tried. Okay, oh, sorry, tire life 400.
Let's say 50.
Yeah, uh, 50. Okay. A little bit better, but not no other points in time for the tire change. We can, however, I don't know if it will react to the stint slider when running required pit stops. Let's try it. Yeah, it comes up with here, so we can set it back to 40.
This way you overuse each set
Yeah, evenly.
just as much. Yeah.
Yeah, evenly. Okay, fine. It's working. So
Yeah, but it's working. But I would have expected it to do that itself, because I think.
yeah, yeah,
Less.
you're right.
Better than one more.
You're right, but that's the way the algorithms work now. It's kind of heuristical, and this type of heuristic is not built in currently, but a good idea. I will note it and see what I can do. But anyway, you can achieve the results using the settings here. And this is yeah, very reasonable strategy. We can even try to, for example, make the second stint a little bit longer, which might not be beneficial for the tire because you now will have a heavier car, which will use your tires even more. But yeah, it's possible. You can even move it this way. No, it won't allow this to do. Okay, any more questions here? No. Then we will come to an even more complex example. I load the strategy I will be running in the race, which will start in 1 hour and a half, in 90 minutes at Snetterton. It is a 90-minute race. And there are 2 required pit stops.
But it's not at Snetterton
No,
at the moment.
sorry, moment. Yeah, it has loaded. Yeah, it has loaded the strategy with all the settings, but we are still at Barcelona, so we have to set it to Snetterton because we want to create the strategy again for the same circuit. Here we have a special strategy. The rule says that we have 2 required pit stops, but if I set it to 2, it will not have come up with this type of strategy. And here I am using the scripting engine of the strategy workbench to achieve exactly this result. Some of you have already seen this. We here have a possibility to create rules for the strategy we want to achieve, which might be way more complex with what we can set here. And this type of rules will not restrict the pit stops at a given point in time and so on. And what I've done here, I said that the scenario is valid when we have 2 pit stops. The refuel amount is not important, but we have 2 required pit stops. And we will change tires only once, which I can achieve with this rule, which give me the tire sets which have been used at the pit stops. And I say here that the length of this list must be exactly 1, which means we will have exactly 1 tire change. And here we have the restriction for the point in time of the pit stops. The first pit stop must between the 5th and the 85 minute, and the second pit stop must be in this time window as well. So it is doing more or less the same as we have set this here this way, 2 refuels, but optional tire change it isn't. Required means we will have 2 tire changes, so it isn't this way either. So I cannot achieve this exactly restrictions with the simple settings, so I have a script here. And if we run this simulation with these settings, so we have initial fuel of 72 liters with a little bit of variation allowed, but as we can see here, it will take exactly the initial fuel as I've set, so didn't find any more optimal values here. And I also let him play with the refuel at the given stints. And if we run this simulation, yeah, you can see we will get exactly this kind of strategy I want. I want to run for the upcoming race.
Question?
Yeah.
Sorry for asking so many questions, but
No problem.
Scripting is not for everybody.
Yeah, I know.
If we look at the strategies tab, can you please select it?
This one here?
Yes, I think so. No, the rules. No, what is
This
the?
one.
Yes. Um, when you select pit stop and you set required, then you can enter the number of required pit stops.
Yes.
What? Why not make something like that for the tire change? Say tire change required, and then the number of tire changes required.
Yeah, it's a new requirement. I know you always,
Agree.
I know you always have plenty of ideas, so it's good. The tool learns and gets better all the time, but there will still be a difference doing it this way and doing it this way. The scripting engine is at at another level of the strategy simulation. So
Mm-hmm.
if I put it in here, which might be a feature which will be implemented with the next release.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it, yeah, I'm not sure it will come up with exactly this type of strategy because here are we running at the low level simulation area, and here are we setting post evaluation requirements. Sorry for the technical term, but
Well,
that's the way it is.
I think I understand, but I do think that if we have that option, that it might be easier to get to a strategy like you created now by using the sliders.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Okay. It's on the list and
Mm-hmm.
will come with one of the next releases. So, and now the last one is not something which is yeah, tied to the new features. But if you have so many new options to create different strategies for the same race, it might be beneficial to compare them at the end. And this is a feature which has been in the strategy workbench a long time now, but I'm sure not many of you are using it already. So I want to demonstrate it again. Um, you find the compare strategies command here in the strategy menu. And the idea is simple. You create as many strategies in different scenarios you like. You always save it to a folder of your choice with different names. And in the end, you will choose the compare strategy command to select all those strategies. I have prepared two here and compare them. And you get a report here with which lists the all the strategies with the best one in first place, the second best one in second place, and so on. And at the end, you will also get a chart which gives you a graphical representation of the strategy performance. What I've added for the current release is that now you have for session types of duration, for example, a race with 60 minutes, which is different of a race with 30 laps. Uh, ACC only offers the first one, but all other sims also offer lapped races. So here we have a duration race. It is 60 minutes, but now you have additional information here which says with at what time you will cross the start finish line and see the checkered flag. So here we see at 61 and 6 and the other strategy here at 62. So the first one is better. That's the whole story. Okay, I think I've demonstrated everything I want to show you. Any questions here at this point? Okay, that's not the case. Then I want to thank you and have fun with the tool and let me know if something does not work as expected, which is kind of normal, but we are improving all the time. Thank you and bye bye.